boundaries with yourself in marriage is probably the most important boundary because we're talking about self-control. Boundaries, a lot of times, when to say yes and when to say no is what the cover of the book says, to have control of your life. Well, self-control, self-management, self-regulation, self-observation, self-monitoring, all of those things about being the regulatory system of yourself is like a thermostat that controls the temperature of the building. It's self-regulated. So boundaries on yourself means that you have the capacity to say no to yourself and yes to yourself at the right times. Take money, for example. How about that one? You got a budget, and the budget says you got this amount allocated to your fund zone and this amount allocated to your spouse's fund zone and this amount allocated to the couple's fund zone or whatever. Well, what happens when, you want something that's over the line, over the boundary? Boundaries on yourself means you can say no to yourself. And you don't have to wait on the other person to say no to you. Okay? The marriage has to have its own boundaries of self-control, boundaries on itself, and not go past where it ought to go in spending or into the kids' lives or whatever it is. It's basically about self-control. God loves it when we can say no to ourselves on our destructive impulses, on our good impulses that don't fit that context, that exceed the limit, that would be better spent later. Can you say no to yourself? And also, boundaries on yourself means you have the freedom to say yes to yourself when it's going to bring about the most good. So it's basically about self-control. You get two people that are married and they don't control each other, but they control themselves and have good boundaries with themselves. If they're mad, they say no to screaming and they say yes to working out a conflict. That's good marriage. So start with yourself.